Alright, based on that windsock, which way do you think we should take off? Remember we talked about you want to take off into the wind?
Oh.
Yeah, if we could go this way, we would, but there's no runway going that way. But if you look at it, it seems like it's favoring the other way just a little tiny bit. So we'll go down to runway 4. You see where it says 4-22 right there?
Yeah.
That means that's how you get onto the runway 4 or 22. And if you look at this runway, I don't know if you can see that or not, but it says 22 right there. So right where we're sitting is the beginning of runway 22, which is pointed at about 220 degrees of north. And if we go down to the other end and turn around and come back, it'll be run 04, which is pretty close to 40 degrees of north. Same runway, but just different, right?
Yeah.
Same piece of tarmac anyway. We need to call the radio to let people know that we're going to be taking off, so I'll do that. Falston traffic, Cessna 48753, back taxi 04, Falston. So this doesn't, like the taxiway is the same as the runway in this case. A lot of airports will have just a place just to taxi back and forth, not to take off from, but this one does not. So we do what's called a back taxi, which is where we actually use the runway as a taxiway. Alright, then I usually do my takeoff checks while we're sitting down here in this little keyhole here. Right, fuel's on, mixture's full rich, carb heat is off. Got the trim set for takeoff. And in this case, we put our flaps down to 10 degrees for takeoff. Alright, you ready?
Yep.
Right. Falston traffic, Cessna 753 departing 04, Falston. Look out there and see if you see an airplane coming in the other direction, do you?
No.
Okay. Alright, here we go. Okay, our airspeed is live. We're up to 40 now. Making good power. There's 55. Time to rotate.
Falston traffic, Bonanza is 14 miles northeast and bound from 22 Falston.
Alright, today is the coolest day of my entire life. The day I've been waiting for nearly 13 years. Well, I've only been flying for like 4 years, so I guess the day I've been waiting for about 4 years.
Yeah.
It's the day that I finally get to take my favorite person on Earth flying. Her name is Eva.
Hello.
Say hi, Eva.
Hi.
Tell us about yourself, Eva.
I don't know.
How long have you been interested in aviation?
Traffic,
Since took off, but like since got to the plane and were able to get in.
Oh, okay, so this morning when we tried to go flying?
Yeah.
Right, so I guess nobody who's listening to this knows what's happened, but we went to try to go flying this morning and the clouds were way too low to go flying marginal VFR, so we decided to hold off a little bit and fly once the clouds, the bases kind of went up a little bit. So it's good now. We're out flying. And Eva, this is her first time in a small airplane. Like I said, I've been waiting for years to be able to take this girl flying with me. What's your favorite part so far?
The view.
The view, yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I like the view, and I also like that it challenges me. Like, there's so many things you gotta think about all at once. Keeps my brain working. I think of it kind of as, it's sort of therapeutic, right? Like, you have problems down on the planet, you know, work or school or whatever.
Yeah.
And you get up here in the sky, and you have all these things that your brain's thinking about. All that other stuff suddenly doesn't matter anymore. It goes away. So you might be able to see Baltimore straight ahead. You see all those towers
Oh, yeah.
over there? Kind of heading straight towards it. In this case, we just have to make sure we stay under 3,500 feet. Right now we're 2,500, so we're good. About where those clouds are, a little bit above that. We're about to go into this blue circle down here. You see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That's for BWI's airspace. As long as we stay below 3,500 feet, we're not in their airspace. But if we go up into that ring, then we get into trouble. But to get into that ring, we'd have to fly up in the clouds, and that would mean we're in even more trouble, so I'm not going to do that. Alright, you ready to learn how to fly?
Sure.
Okay, put your feet on the pedals. And when you push on the right pedal slightly, give it a little bit of pressure. You feel it kind of turning. Actually, let's go left. There's a bird over here. Let's go to the left instead. Don't want to run into that fella. Go ahead and give it a little bit of left rudder. Just a little. There you go. See how it kind of turns on its own?
Yeah.
Smart little airplane, right? Okay, now let's straighten back out. Let it. Right now we're kind of, the nose has kind of gone down a little bit because when you go into a corner, you lose a little bit of your lift to the turn. So your nose kind of dips a little bit. We probably got a little bit of a tailwind at the same time, which makes you also, until the airplane catches up with the wind pushing you, you start to lose lift because you don't have wind hitting the wings to give it lift. Alright, so that's your rudders. You use those to go, it basically just has a fin on the back that goes back and forth like this. Whoa, there's a bird right next to us.
Oh, wow.
Not a very smart bird. Alright, so that's what you call the rudder. You usually, you use that a little bit when you're flying normally. You don't really, I like to use it when I fly just because I like to fly hands off and just use my feet to fly for the most part. But the thing that really makes you turn well is the thing called the aileron. So those are the flaps on the outside of the wings. And if I go like this, it makes it lean that way, right? Or it makes it pitch this way. Right? Alright, so go ahead and grab it. You only need 2 fingers, so just use this hand. 2 fingers, grab it right here. Pull back a little bit. Push it forward a little bit.
Traffic, 172 left crosswind.
Alright, so look out at the window right now. Can you see the horizon?
Yeah.
So that's your, if you notice right now, we're not going up or down. This gauge tells us if we're going up or down at all. Right now we're sitting at just maybe 100 feet per minute. Now it's back down to 0. So that's about where you want your, what they call a sight picture. So if it's about this far above the horizon, is that about what it is for you?
Yeah.
So keep it right about there. Starts to go down a little bit farther than that, pull back a little bit. Right? If it starts to go too high, push it forward a little bit. Just try to keep it at that same spot.
Like we're 16 to the north, double inbound, we ought to have runway 21.
For the most part, if you keep it right there, you don't go up or down in altitude at all. It's an airplane not too far from us. If you look on my screen here, you can see that there's another airplane just like to the south of us. Are you turning it on purpose?
No.
Oh, okay. Let's go back this way a little bit. There we go. Try and keep it level.
Field, Cherokee 064, 3 miles southeast of the airport, inbound for full stop 13, Regal Field.
Give it a little bit of a turn. There you go. That's a nice one. Good job. If it starts to go too far, we can always turn it back the other way if it goes too far, right? A little too far. Let's keep it right about there. Right, so I don't know if you noticed or not, but you accidentally pitched down just a little tiny bit when you did that.
Oh.
So when you go into a corner, give it just the tiniest pressure blowing back. Don't yank it, but part of that was, again, there's a tailwind, so we lost a little bit of altitude because of that.
08 after.
Can't see it, but
Yeah.
learn to recognize it. You can keep flying.
Do we want like this or this?
So wherever the horizon is, remember how we figured out it's about that far above or whatever it was for you? For me, it's up here. Like, for you, it's probably closer to here or something. Just pick out the spot, how far it is away from the top of this thing.
Traffic, Skyhawk 1 to November,
That'll tell you.
1 to the northwest, entering crosswind.
Can you take over?
Yeah, I got it. Getting a little nervous?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're left base 1.
It's getting a little bumpy. Sometimes it gets a little squirrely.
Clearview traffic, Skyhawk 29501.
You know why the clouds are always flat on the bottom? Not always, but why they're usually flat on the bottom?
No.
Remember we were talking about the hot air, right?
Yeah.
Sun beats down on the ground, it's kind of wet.
Because the air goes up and pushes.
Not receiving any
Yep.
radio.
So it'll have, when the ground gets heated up from the sun, it also evaporates the water that's in the soil, and it goes up in the air. It's all, you can't see it, obviously.
Right.
But it gets up to a certain height, and as the air gets cooler as it goes up, right where the bottom of those clouds are, that's when it reaches a temperature that the water turns from being humidity and turns into water vapor instead. So it's just gotten cold enough right when it gets to where the bottoms of those clouds are.
Let's see, I am just past the mouth of the South River inbound for landing 1-2, please.
It's interesting how you've turned this airplane, Eva, into a bug-killing machine. Look at the windscreen. So if you look at this, this is our ground speed right now. That's how fast we're going across the ground. 83 knots, 82 knots. Over here it says we're doing 95 knots, which means we have about a 15-knot headwind coming right at us. The airplane doesn't know the difference when it's in the air. It just pushes against the wind as hard as you tell it to push against the wind. But it has no idea what's going on down on the ground. So we could technically be flying in a wind that's, 80 miles an hour against us, and we'd be going 10 miles an hour across the ground. And it'll just keep going. Has no idea. It really only matters when you're close to the ground, like when you're going to come in for a landing. You want to have a headwind so that you're going as slow as possible across the ground when you finally land.
Birds must enjoy their life.
I'm with you. I think so. I always thought if I was going to be an animal, I'd like to be a bird.
Yeah, I'd probably like to.
Remember we talked about the traffic pattern, the different phases of it? Turning off a downwind, we're now turning on the base. We'll go straight out, and then our last turn will be on to final here in a second. We're up really high. Let's put on our last bit of flaps here. False traffic 753, turning final 04, false. A little nervous?
A little.
Yeah, no worries. I got this. We're good, we're good, we're good. What a landing, look at that. No problem.
How old do you have to be to fly a plane?
You can fly at any age. To get a student certificate, you have to be at least 16.
Oh.
And you have to be at least 17 to solo. No, I take that back. You have to be at least 16 to solo. 17 to actually get your license. Got it? Good? I'll hold it up for you so you can get that. Tip it more towards the bottom, tip it more towards the door. There you go. You got it.